Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching SAMAA News. Here are today's headlines. Russia says it is ready to resume peace talks with Ukraine in Istanbul. No in-person negotiations have taken place since July, when a brief 40-minute meeting was held in the Turkish city. Russian officials say the initiative now depends on Ukraine, which rejects Moscow's claims that it is responsible for the stalled process. US President Donald Trump says he has an obligation to sue the BBC. In an interview, he accused the broadcaster of misrepresenting his comments ahead of the January 6th Capitol riots. Trump also discussed immigration policy and stressed the need for skilled foreign workers while addressing domestic employment concerns. Meanwhile, President Trump has sent a letter to Israeli President Isaac Herzog, urging him to pardon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is on trial for corruption. In the letter, Trump called the case a political, unjustified prosecution. Herzog's office says any pardon request must follow official legal procedures. The US House of Representatives is set to vote on a stopgap funding bill to end the longest government shutdown in American history. The measure, backed by President Trump, has already passed the Senate and would fund government operations through January 30th. The vote follows weeks of partisan gridlock, with Democrats opposing the deal over stalled health insurance subsidies. The US Supreme Court has extended a pause on a judge's order that required President Donald Trump's administration to fully fund food aid for 42 million low-income Americans this month, amid the federal government shutdown, even as lawmakers took steps toward ending the stalemate. The court's action allows the administration for now to continue withholding about $4 billion from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, or food stamps. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan says authorities have recovered the flight recorder from the military cargo plane that crashed in Georgia, killing all 20 personnel on board. However, he said investigations are ongoing to determine the cause of the accident. The C-130, which took off from Azerbaijan, was part of Turkey's aging fleet. Search and rescue teams from both countries continue to work at the crash site. Venezuela is deploying weapons, including decades-old Russian-made equipment, and is planning to mount a guerrilla-style resistance, or so chaos, in the event of a US air or ground attack. The approach is a tacit admission of the South American country's shortage of personnel and equipment. US President Donald Trump has suggested the possibility of ground operations in Venezuela, saying the land is going to be next, following multiple strikes on alleged drug trafficking vessels in the Caribbean and a large US military buildup in the region. He later denied he was considering strikes inside Venezuela. Dozens of indigenous protesters forced their way into the COP30 climate summit venue and clashed with security guards at the entrance to demand climate action and forest protection. Shouting angrily, protesters demanded access to the UN compound, where thousands of delegates from countries around the world are attending this year's UN Climate Summit in the Amazon city of Belém, Brazil. Some waved flags with slogans calling for land rights or carried signs saying, "Our land is not for sale." The International Energy Agency says that global oil and gas demand may grow until 2050, departing from its previous expectations of a speedy transition to cleaner fuels, and predicting that the world will likely fail to achieve climate goals. The energy security watchdog has been under pressure from the US for a shift in recent years toward a focus on clean energy policies, as President Donald Trump called on American companies to further expand oil and gas production. China's President Xi Jinping has told Spain's King Felipe that the world's second-largest economy seeks to work with Madrid to boost the global influence of both nations, as the heads of state met in Beijing ahead of a signing ceremony. China, for its part, is eager to move past trade tension with the 27-strong bloc over its heavily subsidized electric vehicles industry, as US President Donald Trump's tariffs weigh on exports. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has said in a joint press conference in Sydney with Indonesia's President Prabowo Subianto that Australia and Indonesia have agreed on a new security treaty that commits the neighbours to consult each other if either country is threatened. Albanese said the treaty was a major extension of previous security deals, the first signed 30 years ago, and also commits to regular security dialogue between leaders. He added that Indonesia and Australia recognised that acting together was the best way to secure peace and stability in the region. And France captain Kylian Mbappé says the team will honour the victims of the 2015 Paris attacks during Thursday's World Cup qualifier against Ukraine, marking the 10th anniversary of the tragedy. Coach Didier Deschamps emphasised a duty of remembrance and support. Only fullback Lucas Digne from the original 2015 squad will be on the field, as France aims to secure qualification for next year's World Cup. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.SAMAA TV. Thank you for watching SAMAA News.